A very good evening and welcome to Economic Forum. In the harsh economic climate that we live in now, we talk about the challenges, not just of staying in business, but perhaps more so of going into business. And in a society that is generally perceived as male-dominated, those challenges must obviously be more if you are a woman. On the program this evening, we are talking to one woman who has broken the gender barrier and gone into a business that many perceive to be male-dominated. We're talking to award-winning businesswoman and the Deputy President of the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Divine Ndukula. Very good evening. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lovemore.
Mrs. Ndukula, take us back to the beginning. How did it all begin?
My career started soon after college. I joined the High Court. But for a very short stint, I then joined ZBC, Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, in an accounting capacity because I am a qualified accountant. Then, of course, after ZBC, I joined Old Mutual. While I was working at Old Mutual, even as I was at ZBC, I was very restless. I always had imagined that I was going to be in business. Even from a very tender age, I used to tell my friends in school that I'm only going to work for no more than 2 years. Thereafter, I'm going to start my own business, not a small business. That is the time when I was roughly about 13, 14 years old. And eventually, when I was at Intermarket, I saw an opportunity in the security services sector. It is a gap that I identified because then we had few players that were more or less working as a cartel. And I could see a lot of disgruntlement within the security sector employees who were not happy with the way they were looked down upon, the way they were perceived as an employment of the last resort. So I sought to correct that kind of myth or belief which was wrong. Because in the first world, you see people are proud to be security officers, they are proud to be security guards. And then, of course, I did my research and I realized that if I go into this market with the right mindset and inculcate that mindset into employees in the sector, surely the sector would improve and be where it should be. That's precisely what I did.
After Beijing and several initiatives, the lot of women is obviously better now. There's still room for improvement, but it's much better. How did you overcome the barriers that should have been there at your time when the average household believed that you need to educate the male child and that the woman would always be married? And therefore, that would be a lot.
I think I was in a very fortunate position, Lovemore, that my father, he lived beyond his time. Because my father is one man who encouraged me, who inspired me to be who I wanted to be the best that I could be. It was also the fact that I was quite a high flyer in school. In primary school, I used to come home with a number one position. And each time I came home with number one position, my father would be so proud and would show off to all his friends and sundry and tell them, this is my daughter, she's doing so well, she's going to be something big, she's going to be looking after my family. When I'm gone, she's going to take over from where I would have left, and so on. So he literally transited that gender line during that time when a lot of men believed that the girl was supposed to just get minimal education and get married off, and the father getting a lobola and so on. So he didn't think like that. He literally lived beyond the thinking of the time. When I got married, I was very fortunate that my husband was very encouraging. I almost did not start this company that I'm running, Securico. But then he encouraged me to start it because at the time that I was putting the plans on the drawing board, he was diagnosed of renal failure, kidney failure. And I was also working full time. And I said to him, I think I'm not going to start this business because there's just so much for me to do. You know, we've got to go to dialysis so often. I've got to be working. And then I'm thinking of starting this business, which I did not even have an idea on. I'm just an entrepreneur, but I didn't have any security background at all. So he said to me, no, you cannot stop to live your dream on my account. By all means, please do start this business what makes you happy. If you were an ordinary average person, man, you would say yes, because I need your attention, I need your care.
What challenges did you face as a woman starting off on your business?
Well, many challenges then, because for a start, I'm not a security person by background. And again, so obviously, right from the beginning, no prior background. prejudice already because you are a woman, we are getting into a sector where obviously you are not supposed to be in. And thirdly, I didn't have money. So everything was really going against me. But I was not deterred because I knew what I wanted. This is what I always tell women: know exactly what you want and just go after it. Go after it because it will certainly be yours. You just need to believe. The first thing that you need to have in your mind is that you can do it. You believe in yourself. You have that confidence that you are able to do whatever you so wish to do. So that's exactly what I did. And obviously I started small with 2 employees in my cottage, in my house. And I did the best that I could in under the circumstances, obviously, putting the best foot forward all the time. And we were bound to stand out. And indeed, we stood out. The market noticed as we went on.
Indeed, the market noticed also your colleagues, your peers in the business, and you have received numerous awards. Which one do you treasure most?
I treasure most the Africa Award for Entrepreneurship that I won in 2011 in Nairobi. This was a competition that ran across Africa. 3,400 companies entered. The selection process was very rigorous. I've never seen a rigorous process. I think it's a process that went on for close to a year. Eventually, 10 of us were selected to go to Nairobi to present ourselves and our businesses before a panel of judges. And lo and behold, a Zimbabwean company won, and we won. So we were very proud because it was not an easy process. And more so because what makes me happy is really not the awards. What makes me very satisfied in what I've achieved is the difference that I've made in the women that I employ. Well, everybody that I employ is, of course, that I employ, of course, is very important. But I think it's more of the women because I gave an opportunity for employment to women in Zimbabwe because formal employment was not easy for them to come by. I then said to myself, this is a mass employer business. I want to ensure that women also get an opportunity to be employed. And it was not easy for customers, for the men that I worked with as managers, to accept women as able security practitioners. But I said they will be given a chance. And indeed, they proved themselves worth and equally good, and if not better in some of the cases. And we employ invariably or arguably the largest amount of permanently employed women in Zimbabwe outside government. We employ about 900. And 900 women that are looking after their families. They are mostly widows and single mothers because we have said we will give priority to them because they do not have anybody else who would be able to help them to ensure that their kids go to school. So we have those women that are now high flyers. I'm sure you see them all over. They're high flyers. Some of them came in, they were very timid. They were not sure if this was their area because they thought certainly it is a men's area. But we gave them that we cultured into them that understanding, that feeling that they could do it. And indeed, we've got some of them that have risen to be managers, officers. They can handle guns. They can do anything. Most importantly, they are very honest in this industry. It's about being honest. It's about integrity.
Impacting on the Zimbabwean community through business, we're talking to a leading businesswoman and the Deputy President of the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Divine Lukula. We will continue to do that in the second segment of Economic Forum. You want to join us then. Welcome to the second segment of Economic Forum, where we're talking to Mrs. Divine Lukula. She is Deputy President of the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce and a leading businesswoman. Mrs. Lukula, you talked about winning a continental prize. How big is your business? Does it have a footprint just in Zimbabwe, or is it regional or continental?
Our business is poised to be very continental or even global because we are certified to international standards. But as we speak, we are going to be starting operations in Mozambique. And thereafter, we're also looking at Angola. It's a huge market. Why Angola, Mozambique? We have yet people that are actually going through training in the Portuguese language. And we saw opportunities in those countries. We've already done our feasibility study in Mozambique. So definitely it will be continental. We're looking at even going upwards, north of Africa. There are people that have invited us to come in to look at security opportunities in Ghana that are wanting to partner with us. So absolutely, we are a continental business operation.
You are a successful business leader. What makes a business leader?
First and foremost, if you want to lead people, they need to be able to follow you willingly. But for them to follow you willingly, you've got to set the tone, you've got to set the example of what you want your followers to be, of what you want your team members to be. They are really not your followers, they are team members. You look at them as your team members. So if you don't set the example in terms of, if you say, here at Media House we don't do 1, 2, 3 things, but you basically are going at a tangent, then you are not a leader. And integrity is equally important. If you are a leader that is known by team members, somebody who is not who does not have the culture of being honest, you're also inculcating the culture of not being honest in your team members. So leadership, most importantly, is about being the example, setting the tone in terms of how you want things to go, where you want the organization to go. You set the tone. If you expect people to work hard, you've got to be a hard worker yourself. If you expect people to produce certain a level of results, you've got to produce those results first and foremost yourself, and then of course people will certainly be able to do the same. So being exemplary is the most important aspect.
As Zimbabwe, how well are we doing in supporting women in business?
I think there's a lot that has been done. In terms of the legislative framework, it is there. But I think where we are missing the point is in terms of the implementation of the various initiatives that the government or even private companies have alluded to in terms of wanting to support women economic empowerment. But when you look into the actual doing, the actual execution, you find that in most cases there's very little that is being done. You find that we at the ZNCC we have a women's desk where we have been looking at some of these aspects. Policies typically is one of the areas that we looked at 2 years ago. What are the policies in place that help or support women economic empowerment? They are there for all intents and purposes. They are there on paper, but we then looked at how can they be, operationalized. I think that's an area that is still very much work in progress, and I think it is a call upon this. Just in the next 2 weeks, we will be running another conference on women economic empowerment. And what we have sought to look at this time around is look at market linkages, market support for women to access markets, for women to access funding. Those are the areas where we think women really require the support. Women are invariably hard workers. And what I've noted is that Africa would certainly develop a lot faster, a lot better, if both men and women are working, side by side. Why? Because development will not happen without women. That's a fact. We have seen it even in our own homes. There's no way a man will be able to run a home without the support of his wife on an equal basis. Not on an equal basis in terms of maybe the equality that perhaps some men or some people start thinking of, but giving that woman that support, that if she wants to propel or she wants to excel in her career, she should, because whatever happens, she will be impacting the family positively. So this is exactly the same thing in the general scheme of things. When more women are moving into leadership positions, more women are running businesses, formidable businesses. Unfortunately, there are very few women running significant businesses in Zimbabwe, but there are so many women that are in business at micro level. But if we help them scale up, they will be able to employ more people. This is what Africa needs. This is what Zimbabwe needs. It requires more employment. It requires obviously more investment. Women, if they invest, they will obviously, their money rotates within the economy, within their households, within their communities. So that is development. That is how you can develop a people, a country, a nation.
Thank you very much. We are talking to Mrs. Divine Lukula. We have just been talking there about the ZNCC and women empowerment. We will continue in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. Welcome to the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where this evening we're talking to Mrs. Divine Ndukula, a leading businesswoman. Mrs. Ndukula, a new code of corporate governance was launched in April this year. Can you speak to it?
I think that code came at a right time, when certainly this economy requires us to reflect, to introspect in terms of how we are running the economy. The corporate governance code talks to issues surrounding obviously ease of doing business, talks to issues surrounding how do you, when you run your own organization, how do you ensure that sustainably, for sustainable economic development, for it to live beyond you, how do you relate to issues on governance, on reporting, and so on. And what we have seen in Zimbabwe in particular is that we have had far too many problems in all sectors, whether it's in public sector, in the private sector, civic organizations, in the labor society. You find that the issue of governance is really lacking. And this is really it's one of the main causes of the downturn of the economy. Because if you've got a situation where you've got a parastatal or state-owned enterprise which is supposed to deliver on the mandate that it was given, because they've thrown out all the books on corporate governance, anyone does what he wants. They are not working for the people. They are not working for the organization, because corporate governance is about in the interest of the organization or in the interest of the public. But unfortunately, most of the leaders that we have are working in their own personal interests. It's me, myself, and I. And when you see people getting obscene salaries and they're not delivering on their mandate, then there is something extremely wrong. I think it is a cancer that is really permeated in this society, and you find that corruption has destroyed many businesses. Corruption has destroyed many, even state-owned enterprises. It's mainly to do with the lack of corporate governance that has caused most of these enterprises to be able not to, they now cannot even meet their obligations. But you find it's business as usual. People want to buy top-of-the-range vehicles. People want to earn obscene packages. So it is a jungle which is not right. And we really need to now ensure that corporate governance is operationalized. It is executed to the T. And if it is indeed executed to the T, you'll see that this economy is going to turn around. Because that is one of the most important things. I go out a lot and I speak at a lot of fora where people ask about what are you guys doing about corruption? Because we want to come and invest. And certainly we do need foreign direct investment. But people always ask about corruption. People always ask about governance. And I think it's high time that we all take into our strides that let's work for the common good of our society, common good of our organizations, common good of this nation. And I certainly believe that that is the way we can start creating an impetus of building back our companies to where they were, our organizations to where they were, and we can employ more people, as we have 95% unemployment in this country. It's because of poor corporate governance.
You're talking about investor confidence, and obviously one of the things that would really go a long way in ensuring this investor confidence is harmony in the tripartite forum, labor, business, and labor, employers, and government. What can we do to bring harmony?
I think it is all the parties involved, whether it is the labor, whether it is the employers or the government. Everyone should play their part in accordance to the tripartite agreements. A business should just not expect to get labor at the minimal cost and just fire willy-nilly. At the same time, labor should not expect to be kept kept on their jobs when they are not producing. There's got to be productivity, a linked kind of employment, because everyone is a winner. the company is winning, the company is doing well. Obviously, the employee is also doing well. Government also gets money into the fiscus. But you find that the three parties, everyone is working for their own end. So we cannot essentially say there's one party to blame, or there's one party that is doing better than the other. But I think all of the parties have got to play their part. An employee should not expect to be kept on a job when they are not giving their maximum. You expect to be paid a day's wage, you should put in a day's wage. The employer should also play his part. He makes a commitment, this is what I will do for employee. And more so, employers, as far as I know, being an employer myself, naturally we don't want to put people on the streets, naturally, because by putting people on the street, it means the company is not doing well. But the more people I'm employing, it means the company is doing well. So I think all of us should essentially play our part, and I'm sure there's lots of conversations going on between the three parties, and we certainly hope that sanity, or if everyone is really working for the common good of the other, or for the nation, we will sort out the issues that are currently going on.
All this would obviously work out well if the economy was doing well, which it is not. What is your advice to government to turn around the economy?
Well, I think there's a low confidence in terms of policies. Confidence is gone down badly because there's lack of confidence. There's a lack of the willpower to implement policies. If the policies, some of the policies that we have are extremely good, but I think there's that lack of willpower to implement them. And there's also, I think, a challenge where a policy can be in place today, perhaps 6 or 16 months down the line, 24 months down the line, it is changed. So that confidence is eroded. And I think our government should certainly start talking the right language. We see that is happening. Of late, it is happening. The right signals, the right rhetoric is coming out. And if that continues, and if that is also supported by action on the ground, by the execution, I think we are going to see change. Already we see that Dangote was in town and is pledged to invest. Obviously, he's investing because he's been given assurances that 1, 2, 3 things are going to be done. And if those things are going to be done, certainly the economy is going to turn around, and government we will obviously be getting more money into their coffers, because that is what they want. The private sector should be leading. What happens if the private sector is leading by investing more and more, certainly the government will also be able to meet its mandate to the people to provide social services to the people of this country.
A leading security company in Zimbabwe, and perhaps the leading self-made business by a woman across the continent. You obviously are doing well and running. What is your message to fellow business people who may not see light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, Lovemore, there's so much light at the end of the tunnel, if I may say. I started this business when this economy was already starting to go down. But I think I've managed to build the business to a level where it is today. I'm also sure, I don't think we've arrived as a company. We're still going, and we believe there's still a lot to be done. My message, or my advice to aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs for that matter, is one, it requires the discipline in the business to understand that if you have started on a business, you want it to grow. How do you want it to grow if you are going to start dipping your hands into the kitty, as it were, because you are stifling the growth of that business? So it is important to have that discipline. I see a lot of young men and women who say, I want to start a business, I'll have a big office there, I'll have a big car out there. That is not. The money will follow you. What you do is provide value. Provide value, value proposition to the stakeholders that you have promised to provide value. If you create and provide value, certainly the money will come after you. But if you chase after money, the money will certainly slip away from you. You provide value, the money will certainly be following you as well. So my advice is to have that discipline, to ensure that the money is not yours. You separate yourself in the business, because you are two separate entities. And if you are earning $500, earn $500 and live within the $500 wage. and your business will grow because you will have done your budgets. Your budgets can only accept that you earn 500, and that's what you should. So that is the discipline that I'm talking about. And then of course the business will create is the value that it's supposed to create for its stakeholders, and it will certainly grow. And I think most importantly, I always advise people to have self-confidence. If you believe in yourself, and I'm sure even the Bible talks about what comes out of your own mouth, your own words, comes to be. And this is what we should always advocate to each other. Believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, you will certainly achieve what you have set out to achieve.
Now that you're talking about the Bible, I think we're well on to prosperity gospel that you certainly can follow. Create and provide value, and the money will follow you. That's from Mrs. Divine Lugula. She's a leading businesswoman and the Deputy President of the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much for having spent time with us this evening on Economic Forum.
It's my pleasure, Lovemore. Thank you too.
And thank you to all of us for watching the program. All of you, it was good to have you along.